Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel for another champion guide, and today we're taking a look at a champ that I was really excited to see finally added to the game, and that is Scream here. So today we're going to be covering basic and advanced techniques with Scream. I think that once you get going with her, you're going to find that she's just a fire hose of damage, absolute ton of fun to play, and once you get proficient with her, you'll be able to use her auto block as an offensive tool in order to ramp her up and finish fights quickly. As is customary in these guides, let's begin today by answering the question that I know at least one of you has already started typing in the comments below, and that is, does Scream need to be awakened? Now, the answer to this question for Scream is a little complicated, but I think I'm going to go with a no here. Now, if you are using Scream solely for her damage output, then you are 100% good to go with her unduped. However, almost all of her utility is locked behind her signature ability, and for some ideal matchups, you're really going to want her at high or even max sig. So let me show you what I mean. If we go ahead and take a look at her signature ability here, it's got 4 different parts to it. First part says that when Scream consumes Madness, she has a chance to gain a regen buff, which heals a portion of her missing health. Now this chance goes up to 75% only, but you'll be consuming Madness pretty often during a fight, so you'll have access to the regen quite frequently. Now these other 3 points here are all very similar. Scream is a symbiote champ, of course, so for each Madness passive, you'll be reducing the evade ability accuracy of Spider-Verse heroes, and then against other symbiotes, you'll have a chance per Madness when gaining Madness to gain more Madness. And then finally, and this is the big one for me, against tech champs, each Madness gives you a chance to reduce the ability accuracy of armor up buffs. Now, each of these last 3 points scale up to 25%, and since Scream starts the fight with 4 Madness, at max sig, you'll start a fight with all of those abilities at negative 100% ability accuracy. And these can actually go above that. Madness stacks up to 8, so you can have a negative 200% chance to reduce the ability accuracy of these things, which is really cool. Now, for me personally, the evade thing, the symbiote thing, not really big deals, but the armor up one feels more significant because in matchups against somebody like future Ant-Man, for example, her armor breaks aren't really going to help you that much, and armor prevention is a way better approach to fighting him. So I would say that as a general attacker in any game mode, unduped is absolutely fine, but for some specific matchups, maybe some matchups even on Path 3 on the war map, you're probably going to want her at high or max sig. Before we get into the gameplay, I do want to quickly give a huge shout out to Allison here. Now, some of the techniques that I use in this guide, she was actually the first to demonstrate on her channel, and I want to make sure that she gets credit for that. So I'll pop a link to her channel in the description below. Make sure to go check out all the videos that she did on Scream. They're really, really good, especially that top one there where she demonstrates Scream at different ranks and rarities. Really, really good stuff. So definitely give her a subscription if you haven't already. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right into the gameplay. Alright, the very first thing that you need to know about Scream is her Madness passives. She starts the fight with 4 of them, and these are kind of like your in-fight currency. Now, the first thing you're going to notice about them is that there's a timer on them, and when that timer runs out, you gain 2 additional Madness, and then the timer resets. You can also manually refresh the timer and gain those 2 extra Madness early with your 4th light attack. Now, the second thing you'll notice about Madness is the icon, and this icon is going to change whenever Madness is refreshed. It's going to cycle through 4 different icons, and each icon represents a different type of buff, and you can gain a buff of that type by using your second medium attack. So to put it simply, your second medium attack grants you a buff, and your 4th light attack switches the type of buff that you're going to get. The next thing you want to know about Scream is that she has a 25% chance on basic attacks to inflict a bleed debuff. Now, at the start of the fight, these really aren't going to be doing a ton of damage, but they are going to add up quickly, as you're going to see, especially when you start gaining your vicious buffs. Your damage is really going to start to increase. When inflicting a bleed, you'll also inflict an armor break for the same duration, and again, these are going to add up quickly and really increase the damage on your basic attacks and your specials. So your first goal in any fight with Scream is to build up unique buffs using your medium combo enders, refreshing your Madness with a light combo ender whenever you need to, and get yourself close to 2 bars of power. You then want to use your special one with at least 3 Madness passives available. Each hit of your special one is going to consume a Madness to give you a fervor buff, and getting all 3 of these fervor buffs is going to increase the chances of inflicting your bleeds and armor breaks from 25% all the way to a guaranteed 100%. From here, you want to race back to your special 2, placing as many bleeds bleeds and armor breaks on the opponent as possible. Once you're ready, make sure to use a light ending combo, fire off the special 2, and you'll be dealing burst damage for each personal debuff on the defender. This damage caps at 30 debuffs, so ideally you're going to have 15 or more each of the bleeds and armor breaks. And the potency of this burst damage is going to be increased for each madness that you had at the start of the special attack. And that's why you always want to use a light ending combo before the special 2, since this will guarantee you at least 2 madness. Now, in the majority of Battlegrounds and War matchups, this Special 1 into Special 2 rotation is probably going to be enough to finish the fight. If they're not dead, the bleeds are still going to be ticking, and you can follow up with an additional combo or 2 to finish the job. Alright, let's take a look at a fight in real time. At the start of the fight, I'm going to use my light combo ender to switch my buff type and refresh my madness, and then from here I'm going to be using medium combo enders to start gaining my buffs. The buff types, by the way, stack up to 2 each. From here, I'm going to be kind of rinsing and repeating, building up to my special 1 at close to 2 bars of power, and then firing off my special 1 with at least 3 madness. That's going to give me my 3 fervor buffs, and then from here, all of my basic attacks are guaranteed to apply an armor break and a bleed. From here, I'm going to be building up to the special 2 as quickly as I can, firing it off. We have the cap of 30 debuffs, and the burst damage is enough to finish the fight. Okay, quickly let's review the beginner damage rotation. So at the start of the fight, you want to use your 4th light attack to switch to your energized buffs. That's also going to refresh your madness. Then from there, use your medium combo enders to start gaining your buffs, and again, these stack up to 2 each. Build up close to 2 bars of power, use your special 1 with at least 3 madness available to get your maximum 3 fervor buffs. From there, quickly build up to your special 2. You should be gaining a whole bunch of bleeds and armor breaks on the defender while you're doing this. And then use a light combo ender into your special 2. And again, this is going to guarantee you as much madness as possible. Repeat if necessary, but let's be honest, it's probably not going to be necessary. Okay, so moving on, let's talk for a bit about Scream's auto block mechanic. Now, I know that for most champions, when you think of auto block, you think of it as a defensive mechanic and something that you need to counter. But with Scream, knowing how to use it as an offensive weapon in her kit is going to take her to the next level for you. So whenever you consume madness using your heavy attack or your special attacks, you're going to gain an auto block buff for 5 seconds. And this buff gives you a 100% chance to block the next incoming basic attack. And this auto block is going to trigger parry, so you can use it to get easy openings throughout the fight. And furthermore, the auto block also works against heavy attacks, so it's like a guaranteed version of the Stand Your Ground mastery, but on offense. This is going to be especially useful, I think, against a node like Heavy Hitter on Path 5 in War, where the defender's heavy is unstoppable, but you can just auto-block it and parry to get your opening that way. Alright, so you might be asking yourself, why on earth would I go out of my way to use the auto block when I could just parry and get my openings that way? And the answer is that triggering the auto block immediately grants Scream one of her buffs and inflicts a bleed and an armor break on the defender, which means that your ramp is going to be faster and your damage output potential higher when you use the auto block to your advantage. Alright, let's take a look at a fight in which we utilize the auto block. This is a Star-Lord from the CCP server. He's got 850,000 health. We're not running any synergies. I'm not running any ouchie masteries. And there's a 7-star defender, so no challenger rating bonus either. Now at the start of the fight, I'm actually going to hold heavy while I'm running in to trigger an auto block immediately. From here, I'm going to do 4 light attacks, refresh my madness, immediately hold heavy again after that to trigger another auto block. Notice that charging the heavy inflicts an infuriate debuff on the defender, and this is going to make them much more likely to hit into your auto block. From here, do another 4 light attacks, charge your heavy again for a 3rd auto block. Notice how quickly our buffs and debuffs are ramping up here as well. From here, another attack is going to push them over bar of power, so do a medium to get a buff, bait out the special 1, punish the special 1 with a medium, and immediately charge your heavy again for another auto block, then do light attacks until you're just below 2 bars of power, fire off your special 1, and at this point we have all of our unique buffs activated, so we're getting the maximum attack increase on the special 1, and we have 3 madness. We're getting all 3 fervor buffs from the special 1 as well. From here, we're trying to get back up to the special 2. We consumed madness with our special 1, so we have 1 more auto block available. Full combo with a light attack ender to refresh madness into the striker. Another full combo with a light attack ender. and then we're going to fire off the special 2, and this does a whole bunch of damage. We've got the maximum of 30 debuffs here, and with 4 Madness we get a 24% increase to our burst damage, and that does a huge chunk of his health. Now from here you can kind of take several approaches. You can do another special 1 to get additional fervor buffs to go back up to the special 2, or you can just rely on the bleeds and your basic attacks to finish the job here. I think in this particular example I'm going to rely on the attack increase from all of our unique buffs and just finish the fight with our special attack 1 and our basics. But you can see like we are in total control of this fight from start to finish. One more combo into the striker, and that is an 850k health opponent down in under a minute. Really impressive damage. Alright, let's go ahead and watch that same fight again in real time, and the thing I want you to pay attention to here is that I don't actually block or parry myself a single time in this fight. All of our openings with parry are from the auto block here. So we are building up our buffs and debuffs very quickly already at the special 1, firing it off with 3 Madness to get all 3 fervor buffs, baiting out the special 1. Again, they have that infuriate debuff on them, so they're more likely to attack into you to use their special attacks. Building up to the special 2 using a light ending combo, firing it off, and that is a huge chunk of damage off his health. Baiting out this special 2, and then again from here you kind of have 2 approaches. You can either rely on your basic attacks and the bleeds and the special 1, or you can kind of start the cycle over again if they don't have, like, you know, as little health remaining as the Star-Lord does. So as you can see, like, we are not parrying ourselves once. Total control from the beginning of the fight to the end of it, and just an incredible amount of damage from a very, very cool champion. Alright, let's go ahead and review what I would call the advanced damage rotation. So again, as you run into the fight, you want to hold your heavy. That'll trigger an auto block right away. From there, you can do 4 light attacks, immediately hold heavy again to trigger another auto block, repeat that a 3rd time for another auto block. And I do want to point out here that in general, if you want to utilize the auto block to your advantage, whenever the defender is below a bar of power and you have Madness available, it is always safe to charge your heavy. If the defender is above a bar of power, you want to medium to gain a buff, or else bait a special, and then you can go ahead and charge your heavy. So again, at this point, we would medium to push them over a bar of power. That'll also grant us a buff, bait out that special 1 from them. From here, build up to 1.9 bars of power, utilizing your auto block when you need to, refreshing your Madness when you need to, and then use your special 1 with 3 or more Madness, just like we did in the beginner rotation. After that, you should have all of your fervor buffs available. So again, race up to your special 2. Remember to use a light combo ender into your special 2 to guarantee you 2 extra Madness. And then after that special 2 is over, if they're not dead, you can follow up with repeating the rotation or rely on your basic attacks and your bleeds to finish the fight. Alright, just a few other things that I want to cover here before we finish up the guide. And the first thing I want to mention is that Scream's auto block buff is only consumed with contact attacks, and this lets you do hilarious stuff like this against a champion like Shuri, for example, who has all non-contact attacks. Now notice how many bleeds and armor breaks were stacking up on her without even hitting into her. And you can also use the auto block to reparry as well. This can be useful against champions like Maw or Idoom or Iron Man Infinity War, who have non-contact medium attacks, or you can also use this against nodes like Mighty Charge, or there's that other node where like all dash attacks are stun immune and you need to reparry, I forget what it's called. So for these cases, just make sure that you have that auto block buff available, and then when they dash into you, you can either manually block the dash attack and then just let go of your inputs to let the auto block take over, or if the dash attack is a non-contact attack, you can just let the auto block do its thing. It'll auto block the non-contact medium and not parry, and then when they hit into you with like a contact light attack, the parry will trigger. So notice in this fight, for example, how quickly we've ramped up Scream's buffs by doing this. Just like using Scream's auto block as a weapon is just such a cool mechanic, I think. Alright, the next thing I want to mention is that Scream benefits greatly from having the Deep Wounds Mastery, and if you can run 5 points in it, I would highly recommend that you do so, because it's going to give you an extra 25% duration on both your bleeds and your armor break debuffs, as well as dealing 1% of your opponent's health in instant damage whenever you apply a bleed and have more health than they do. And remember that once she's ramped up, Scream is going to be inflicting bleeds on every basic attack, and those instant bleeds are really, really nice for closing out a fight. The last thing I want to mention is this synergy here called the Munchies, not because it's a particularly good synergy, but just because I think it is incredibly clever. So the name the Munchies actually refers to a painter called Edvard Munch, which is actually spelled M-U-N-C-H. And each champion in this synergy represents a famous painting of his. So he's most well known for a painting called The Scream, which I'm sure you've seen before. And some of the other paintings referenced here are the Vampire for Morbius, the Storm, obviously for Storm, and then Moonlight for Moon Knight. So I know you didn't click on this video for an art history lesson, but I just love it when the dev teams add little things like this into the game. Really, really cool. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another champion guide. Scream is just so much fun to play, especially when you figure out how to best use that auto block mechanic to your advantage. Now, if you found this guide helpful, you can help me right back by hitting that like button. And if you've made it this far into the video, you can leave me a comment below that says, "We all scream for ice cream." And as always, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.